packaged at 58.9C, 59C. There's a 121,810, so almost a 122,000. I'm convinced we can beat that score with science. iBuyPower's custom PC builder, you get the fun of customization without the confusion of part-to-part compatibility. Mix and match top brands like Intel, Microsoft, Western Digital, Asus, and more. The tool provides a compatibility check, so you know exactly which components will work with your build. Make your PC as unique as you when you customize your build with RGB fans and other components. And the best part about all this, they build it for you. Spend less time stressing and spend more time gaming. To start configuring your next dream PC, follow the link in the description below. It's been far too long since we've done any J's to sciences around here, so we are going to use what we've learned in the previous attempts at like sub-zero sealed coolant system, which isn't just a water chiller, by the way. The amount of heat that the Threadripper 7980X can put out is significantly more heat than a water chiller can handle. But we're gonna take what we've learned through our own trial and error and you guys responding to those videos to try and get even better results and hopefully get a record or close to a record with the 7980X. So let's do it. A couple of things you might take note of immediately. This is an EK water block for the Threadripper 7980X and above type series, and that is an Asus Pro Series motherboard. You might also want to take note that yes, we currently hate those brands right now, which is why I'm okay with ruining them. So let's talk about the block real quick. One of the things we did, so we're gonna do our sub-zero cooling tank with dry ice again with mostly glycol mix in our system to keep it from freezing. So what we learned in the past is if there was any water at all in our sub-zero loop, obviously below 0C, it freezes. And so we have to do a pure glycol mix. Unfortunately, glycol is not as good of a heat transfer agent as water is. So the reason why people use water in antifreeze is so that you can have some of those cooling properties. So it's a trade-off. Do you want it to freeze or do you want it to cool? Obviously, we want to go sub-zero for our CPU for cooling reasons because this sucker pulls like 700, not the block, but the CPU pulls like 700 watts when it's fully loaded. The reason why we were getting poor results by having, like our temps were still hitting like 40, 50C on the CPU, even though our coolant was like -10, -15C, is because of the fact that there's an effect that happens where with the micro fins in the block, the thick viscosity of the glycol creates kind of a transfer right there where the glycol sort of sticks to it and doesn't move anymore. So the glycol is now flowing over top of it. I forget what that scientific, it's like the opposite of Leidenfrost effect, where instead of creating a layer that it can't go through, it creates a layer that gets stuck to it. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna open up the block and we're gonna Dremel off the microfins so that we can just have better flow, like the cold flow touching the actual heat plate or cold plate where the CPU is, rather than having a layer form right there. Now it's just sort of like rippled rather than being actual grooves. We'll see. We shall see. All right, let's see if it holds air. And it's currently not holding air, so let's make sure the O-ring is still in the right spot. I fixed it. So Dr. Phil, not to be confused with the Dr. Phil that wants to work on your relationship. I don't know why he sounds like I guess he is an old guy. No, this Dr. Phil said, did you clean all the dust and stuff out? I'm like, this should be fine. One cleaning of the O-ring later. Okay, now we can continue with science. Gloop, 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 gloop. Okay, you might have also noticed that these O-rings, this screw is from something else, and these flow plates are no longer in there. I decided we don't need them because we're not forcing it through those channels anymore. All this does is create a gap between the inlet and those flow fins, if you will, the jet plate fins, to force the coolant through the fins. We're not doing that anymore. We're just trying to increase the flow and no longer use those fins. So there we go. Did somebody say colonoscopy? So this is how we're gonna do it. This may or may not be a bad idea. We're gonna find out. So here's the premise. If you haven't watched our other videos, which go back a couple of years now at this point. So this is called a wort chiller. Essentially, this is for like distilling, but fermenting beer and stuff like that. So it's funny, the boxes came and even shows a guy with his little like beard distilling and stuff. Anyway, so this is going to be down inside our bucket. So we're gonna be filling this straight up with just glycol. That's it. And I have like lab grade glycol right here, which we're gonna use in our loop. I don't know what the difference is gonna be between this. This is probably orange and this is obviously clear. This is going in our loop. Now we're using dry ice and this because the dry ice won't freeze this. The reason for this is we have to keep the fluid inside moving. So we can do it this way while we're doing our run, and then stop when we're not. That way, it kind of lets the loop stay a little bit warmer when it's not moving. That way it doesn't want to freeze as easily. This is actually gonna be my loop pump. I hope it doesn't, it's what, 4 gallons per minute? Rated head, 1.5 meters of head pressure. So we normally talk about head pressure in inches. This is meters of head pressure. So I'm gonna put it together and then pray. Get in my eye. It looks like pee. Wow. Oh my gosh, it's like a gel going in there. Thank God we're diluting it. I feel like the D5 was flowing more. Asus or someone strikes again. This motherboard doesn't work, but it worked perfectly fine the last time we used it, and we haven't touched it since. So anyway, we continue to get a RAM LED. We can't get it to post. It gives us very erratic behavior. We have tried multiple channels. We have tried single stick of RAM. We have tried alternating the sticks of RAM. This is ECC memory needed for this, so we can't even use any of our other DDR5. We have to use ECC RAM. And so we've tried, it's funny because it goes through the postcode and it says it's good, A0, but the the RAM, DRAM light, the yellow light saying something's not right, stays on. We've even tried BIOS flashback, and we can't even get it to BIOS flashback. Nothing will work on the board. And we have found multiple people complaining about this particular motherboard dying for unknown reasons. Now we've tried reseating the CPU multiple times, which is something you do with Threadripper when RAM starts acting funky. But what tends to happen when Threadripper not tightened down properly is you lose a channel or two, but not all of them. And it's funny because you get the same behavior whether I put in 1 RAM stick, 2, 3, 4, or none. I've even seen will the light do something different if there's no RAM installed. One time we got the postcode to actually move forward and do D6, which is looking for mouse and keyboard and stuff, but then it did another restart, another memory training, and then just goes back to the behavior. So we have spent hours today trying to get this to work. We're done with that. So I actually sent Nick over to Best Buy to go buy a 14900K. Because I do have another board I'm fully willing to sacrifice for science. You know why we need to do something today? Because we have a dry ice container over there that is completely full of dry ice that will not be there for much longer if we don't use it. So I'm going to be using it today. And yes, that is a direct die 14900K in there. Maybe I'll just look up the manual for this, although we know how much Singularity likes to not put up manuals for some reason. We could do the direct die one. If I can't get it to work, then I guess we can move over to the standard one. That smell will always mean something blew up in my car. Okay, so we're up and running on a 14900K. It's actually I think it's a 14900. Please don't be oh, it locked up again. Yeah, I'm a little concerned that the direct mount is at an awkward angle or something because it keeps locking up on me. Okay, we'll come back when it's actually working. This is more trouble than the first time we tried it. Okay, we're finally at a point where we can do something. Also too, it's a 13900K delidded, not a 14900K. Rather than taking it all apart again, which is actually a lot of work, considering the direct die mount also is a non-direct die or a standard mount, also, or block from Singularity computers. It's a lot of work to take it off and switch the CPU out because of the fact that it's also the CPU retention system. You have to get rid of the whole bracket system. So I had to put that bracket system back on. No, actually I'd use it without the bracket. But I'm just gonna try this with the 13900K and see where we're at. My bucket temp right now is only at 15.8 C on the fluid. And then my loop temperature right now is at 20.5, which is pretty low. If we were to actually take this and stir up the pot a little bit, it would probably start to come down a little. But there's 30 feet of copper coil, 30 feet of coil. There's a lot of length in there, if you will. Actually, lab assistant number Nick, I need you to do this. So you can see as we move the coolant around it, it starts to pull the temp down. You can go faster than that. So there's always gonna be some delta simply because of the fact that there's heat going into the loop. So 19.5 on the fluid. Our current temps are packaged at 30 P cores and E cores, 20s. So let's go ahead and just do a sanity check here with Cinebench R23. Also too, we were getting some crashing as you saw. That's because of the fact that, as I mentioned, the direct die mount, you can go and stop for a sec. The direct die mount is also the hold down mechanism for the CPU. So if you have it too tight on one side, not the other, you can lift the CPU maybe and not get good contacts. I think I got a good contact right now. We'll find out as soon as I try and do a run here. And let's see what our scores are. Go ahead and go while it's running. Oh, right to 98, 97, 98. So I don't think our mount's working very good at all here. I have chosen the path of most resistance to do this science today. I do really think I'm gonna have to take this out, get a different block, put the mechanism back together, and just use my lidded 14900K. Because it's obvious I'm not getting very good contact, or it's not tight enough and I haven't got it straight while it was tight. So I'm gonna make one more attempt at just making sure that it's really cranked down there. If it still does the terrible temperatures, then that's it. We'll move on to something else because I am getting a little bit fed up with this, if you want to know the truth. So no video when I tighten it down. I'm so sick of this shit. All right, so we're back up and running. I got my fan on there. There's actually something very important that I forgot to do that is absolutely necessary with this type of overclocking. Nailed it. Okay, so 14900K is now installed. Bam! Currently idling at 26C. Nick, you might as well go ahead and put a ton of ice in there because we're gonna go straight to sub-zero now. Enable, remove all limits. Sure, why not? That's what I want this time. See, I want to tell it to do it. I don't want it to decide for me. Wow, the vid with the 1.5, 1.46, 1.525. Okay, this is an old BIOS. It's not the ones that are Intel supposed to be trying not to kill itself. But look, it's at 6.1 on the first 3 cores. I'm like so curious right now as to what's gonna happen. It's just, oh, the package is like 95, 98 instantly. What's the voltage? 1437, that's why. That's a 40,151, but obviously our voltage is really high right now. It's only 5.2 now. I think I feel like one of the posts just broke on the block. So that's only a 39,124. Why does it hate me so much? Why does the universe hate me today? All I want to do is bring y'all some grade D entertainment. Maybe this is entertaining to you. Maybe seeing me literally now in the afternoon, it's now definitely late in the afternoon, losing my mind to try and just do something that's interesting for you guys. And it won't let me. Damn it, I missed the BIOS. I want to go to the BIOS and change the voltage. Well, I just do XTU and offset. All right, so I'm just gonna start with XTU doing a little voltage offset. I'm not sure I need that much voltage. Yes, they like barely, it's like this board is set to 98C instead of 100 is its limit. Yeah. It's down to 5.1, what's the voltage? 1.258, so it's clearly got a bad mount. I think it was fine until I over tightened it. Here's our adjusted setup. Not only is the table a mess, we now have an EK velocity block on there. Again, sticking with EK because we're kind of ruining it and it's okay. But we added another EK product in line. It's a D5 pump. This pump has stopped moving fluid. It's turning, but fluid is no longer moving through there. We're not entirely sure why. But let's just turn this on, start the PC, get this pump going too, and see if it'll actually start flowing anything. Oh, it's coming back right there. Okay, it was like coming up, it was going up.
You have the pumps corrected together, right? Like parallel. The same direction?
Oh no, I don't. They're opposing.
Okay, I was gonna say, it literally looks like they're fighting.
There we go. It's been a long day. Shit. Lab assistant number 1. Oh, okay. You can like, I want you to try and get the bucket out. Oh, okay. Oh, it's, it exploded. Oh, I done peed myself. Oh, it's dripping on the computer that's under here too. I just wanted to entertain you guys. This is not what I signed up for. Now these temperatures seem a little more realistic. It's also not gonna cool at all, but look, we have both pumps going just to get that much flow rate. It's so thick, even though we ran a 70-30 like we're supposed to, but yeah, I think the viscosity of this is just gonna be a little too much. Start Cinebench here. I'm just gonna do one run. It should probably get pretty hot pretty quick, to be honest, because there's no active cooling. It's just running through that coil. We have to hope the sheer volume of the coolant is enough to not get like completely soaked. There's 100 right there. And now it's hard throttle. Oh wait, still 5.7 all core. 5.6, 5.7, 5.6, 5.7.
It's doing better with it out of the...
It's at 100C doing 5.7 right now.
This computer's so cursed.
It's still at 1.34 vid though. That's a 40,660. So again, I think we can put it back in the bucket now because the bucket is now warmed up a little bit, and so has our coil. So we can do some stuff now until it freezes. Part of the problem too might have been because this pump was never actually getting it to fully flow, that coolant was just sitting there stagnant in the coil, which gave it an opportunity to freeze. Now look at the loop temp. It's about to go sub-zero. 0, -1, -2. That still seems like something's wrong though. Look at that.
Jeez, it's still going.
Yeah, something is just straight up, unless we're actually actively getting that issue now of where because we're back to microfins, right? And this is super thick, so maybe it's not actually cooling like it should. All right, well, this is worse than we've ever done.
With the most equipment.
I'm covered in glycol, the table's covered in glycol, Nick's covered in glycol. Oh, it's the keyboard, and actually this mouse was completely dunked in it. Oh, this is so disappointing. Yeah, this is where we need the other people with science licenses. Only people with a science license. We don't want any of them internet licenses. We want a real license from like...
Not like our licenses.
At least a community college, okay? We need to know what chemical we should be using here to keep a good viscosity that these pumps can move at sub-zero temperatures, but also has good thermal transfer rate. Someone's gonna be like, oh, that exists, and it's only like $62,000 a gallon because it's used in aerospace.
There's the temperatures we're targeting for the loop is around the -20 range.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for, because I'm trying to keep the CPU as like close to like 20-30 C under load as I can get it. Maybe my problem was using the pure ethylene glycol. Maybe I should have just gone with the 50-50 mix like everything else was. You can see it's even yellow now because I tried to pour some of it in there to maybe bring the freezing temperature down. But it doesn't matter. As you can see, it's not flowing anymore at all. Like the pumps are turning, and both pumps are actually pretty warm because they're working against all the cool, whatever. It's time to go. Guys, I'm sorry this video sucked. Here's the thing. I paid $575 at Best Buy for that CPU in a pinch, and I spent about $375 for the rest of the stuff to do this video. So I'm almost $1,000 in the hole for something that did nothing.
Yeah, but the lab coats are kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll use them in the future, but Skunkworks scores higher, and it's just on water. If you really want to help support this, then go buy a t-shirt. Our new designs are there.
Or tell us how to do this.
Yes, please tell us, because I'm so over this now. All aboard for science.